Today we'll solve some examples on rings. The first example, if R is a ring and A and B are the two elements of ring R, then we have to show that A plus B whole square is equal to A squared plus AB plus BA plus B square. In algebra, A plus B whole square means A square plus 2AB plus B square. Here we have to prove that result, I mean A plus B whole square, as A square plus AB plus BA plus B square. Since R is a ring means it must satisfy the closure law, associative law, identity law, inverse law, commutative law with respect to the binary operation addition. Under multiplication, closure law, associative law at the end, that means distributive law. Here we use both binary operations, addition as well as multiplication. Let me solve this example. LHS, A plus B whole square. What I do now, I'll rewrite this one as A plus B dot A plus B. I'll make use of left distributive law. A of A plus B plus B of A plus B. That means left distributive law. Since R is a ring, left distributive law holds good. Again, using distributive law only, left distributive law, A squared plus AB plus BA plus B square. This completes the solution. Here we have to solve the example using the definition of ring. We made use of left distributive law. Next example, let R be a ring if A square equal to A for all A belongs to ring R. Then we have to show A plus A is equal to 0, and we have to show that this R is what? Commutative. Let me prove one by one. Since A square equal to A for all A belongs to R, therefore we take A plus A of whole square is equal to A plus A, like A square equal to A. Again, rewriting A plus A dot A plus A is equal to right hand side. Right hand side remains same. Again, using left distributive law, A of A plus A, again A dot of A plus A equal to A plus A. This is same as writing A square plus A square plus A square plus A square. A square 4 times. Right hand side as it is. Since A square equal to A, I'll replace A square by A. Wherever you see A square, we replace it by A. Again, using cancellation law, since R is a ring, that means the cancellation laws holds good. That means we may use left cancellation law or right cancellation law. If you cancel these two using cancellation law, what we get? A plus A equal to 0. This completes the first one. Now we have to show that the ring is commutative. Again, A plus B whole square is equal to A plus B. Rewriting A plus B dot A plus B is equal to A plus B as it is, right hand side as it is, only rewriting left hand side. Again using left distributive law, LDL, left distributive law, A of A plus B, or we can say A dot of A plus B plus B dot of A plus B is equal to A plus B. Again using distributive law, A square plus AB, BA plus B square is equal to AB. Since A square equal to A, since A square is equal to A, I replace this A square by A and B square by B, and rearranging the terms. A plus B, I'll write in the beginning, plus AB plus B equal to A plus B. Using cancellation law, we get AB plus BA equal to 0. Sum of these two equal to 0 means definitely one will be the inverse of second one, or we rewrite 0 as AB plus AB because A plus A equal to 0. Again using cancellation law, we get BA equal to AB or AB equal to B. This shows that R is commutative. Now, if R is a ring with unity, R is a ring with unity means A dot 1, A dot 1 is equal to 1 dot A is equal to A. If R is a ring with unity means this condition. Here we have to show that minus 1 dot A is equal to minus A is equal to A dot of minus 1. And the second one, minus 1 dot minus 1 is equal to the plus 1. To prove these two results, let me consider 1 plus of minus 1. 1 is here plus is a binary operation. Therefore, I'll take this one as 1 plus of minus 1 dot A. This is same as writing 1 dot A plus minus 1 dot A using right distributive law. Horizontally, I'll write like this. Vertically, 1 plus of minus 1 means 0 dot A is equal to, the property, 1 dot A means here 1 dot A is equal to A minus 1 dot A, as it is 0 equal to, again the property, using the property 0 dot A means 0, A plus of minus 1, A plus of minus 1 dot A. This is same as writing minus 1 dot A equal to minus A. The second one, minus 1 dot minus 1 equal to 1. Minus 1 dot 1 means minus of minus 1. That means inverse of 1 means 1. This completes the second solution. I mean the second part. Here, this can be written like this using right distributive law. Horizontally, vertically, I'll write like this 1 plus of minus 1 as 0 dot A using the property of rings. Again, this can be written, that is 0 dot A can be written as 0, and 1 dot A means A plus minus 1 dot A. Finally, what we get? Minus 1 dot A equal to minus A. Now, subrings. What is a subring? Subring, to define a subring, we need a ring. Fantastic. Again, we need a subset, yes. It should be non-empty. Non-empty subset S of ring R. That means it is like this. S is non-empty, means we see the elements inside S, and it is subset of R. A non-empty subset S of ring R mathematically we write like this, is said to be a subring of R if S is closed under addition and multiplication. That means the closure law under addition holds good and closure law under multiplication holds good. This is the definition of subring. To understand the definition of subring, let me take one simple example. We know that the set of integer z under the binary operation addition and multiplication is always a ring. The standard example of ring. I need one more set. Yes. Yes is a set containing even numbers or even integers. Here 0, 2, 4, 6 like that, -2, -4. Okay. Clearly, let me check one by one. Clearly S is non-empty because we see the elements inside the set. Second one, is it a subset of R? Yes, because all the elements are integers. That means this condition is satisfied. S is non-empty and it is subset of R. Now what I have to check? I have to check whether it is closed under addition or not. And the next one, whether it is a closed under multiplication or not. That means the closure law under addition and closure law under multiplication holds good or not. Okay. Definitely, you take any two elements, add these two. 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 is an even integer. 2 into 4 is 8. 8 is also an integer. That means S is a subring of what? R. Here R is set of integers. Now we have two types of subrings, namely proper subrings and improper subring. The set containing additive identity, that is 0, and the ring itself are the only improper subrings, and the remaining subrings are said to be proper subrings. Necessary condition for a subring. What is the necessity to prove a subring? You know the definition of subring. You should have a non-empty set and it should be subset of R. Okay. Let S is non-empty and it is subset of R. Fine. Let me take two elements of S. A is a member of S. B is also a member of. A is a member of S. B is also a member of S. Since S is a ring, that means all the laws holds good. It may be closure law, associative law, identity law, or additive inverse law, and so on. If B here, B is an element of S, and we know that minus B is the additive inverse of what? B. Therefore, minus B is an element of S. A belongs to S. A belongs to S, comma minus B belongs to S. Closure law under addition. That is A plus of minus B is also an element of S. That means S is because S is closed under addition. This is same as writing A minus B belongs to S. Remember, we can't write directly A minus B belongs to S because minus is not a binary operation. First, what we have to do? A plus of minus B belongs to S. That can be written as A minus B belongs to S. Don't write directly this step. Again, A is an element of S, fine. B is an element of S, fine. Then the product of these two is what? A dot B belongs to S. That means S is closed under multiplication. This is the necessary condition for a subring. Remember one point. The necessary conditions means the closure law under addition and multiplication must hold good for S also. What is S? It is a non-empty set and it is a subset of R. What R stands for? R is a ring. Now, the sufficient conditions for a ring. That means we have to verify all the laws of what? Ring. With respect to what? Set. Yes. S is non-empty and it is subset of R. The necessary conditions are the difference of these two elements is a member of S. That means A minus B belongs to S. A product of these two elements belongs to S. That means A dot B belongs to S. For all AB belongs to what? Yes, are satisfied. I'll repeat this element twice. A belongs to S, A belongs to S. Since A minus B belongs to S, that means A minus A belongs to S and A minus A means 0 belongs to S. What is that? This is the additive identity element. Again, since 0 belongs to S, A belongs to S, A minus B, here 0 minus A belongs to S. That means minus A belongs to S. What is minus A? Minus A is the what? Is the additive inverse of A. If AB belongs to S, A is an element of S, B is an element of S, minus B belongs to S. Now I'll take like this. A belongs to S, minus B belongs to S, then A minus of minus B. Since A minus B belongs to S, in place of B, we have to take minus B. So minus into minus plus, that means inverse of inverse takes always positive side. A plus B belongs to S. What is this? This shows that S is closed under addition. Means closure law holds good under the binary operation addition. And we know that associative law is an extension of closure law. So clearly associative law holds good. Also the commutative law holds good. No doubt at all. That means S under the binary operation addition is an abelian group. Now we have to check for what? Semi-group. That means associative law under multiplication, closure law under multiplication. A and B are the elements of S. That means AB belongs to S. Clearly associative, as well as under the binary operation addition and multiplication, distributive law also holds good. What we verified here, it has additive identity element, it has the additive inverse element that is minus A belongs to S, and associative law holds good, commutative law holds good, closure law under multiplication holds good, associative and distributive law. That means S is a subring of R. It means S is a subring of what? Since S is a ring of R, we conclude that S is also subring of R. Now we'll take two important theorem. The first one with respect to intersection, the second one union. Intersection of two subrings. To prove this theorem, I need two subrings. Let me take S1 as first subring, S2 as second subring. Let S1 and S2 are two subrings of ring R. Since the element 0 is a member of S1 intersection S2, that means we see at least one element inside S1 intersection S2. That what it shows, it indicates it is non-empty. Since it is non-empty, let me take two elements. A is a member of S1 intersection S2. B is also a member of S1 intersection S2. This is same as writing A belongs to S1 intersection S2. B belongs to S1 intersection S2. Again rewriting. Intersection means common element. A belongs to S1 and A belongs to S2. Here B belongs to S1 and B belongs to S2. Grouping. A belongs to S1, B belongs to S1. A belongs to S1, B belongs to S1 using necessary condition, that is A minus B belongs to S1 and AB belongs to S1. This is necessary condition theorem or part. Next, A belongs to S2, B belongs to S2 using necessary condition theorem. The difference of these two elements, A minus B belongs to S2 and the product of these two elements, that is AB belongs to S2. Let me combine these two. A minus B belongs to S1, A minus B belongs to S2. That means A minus B belongs to S1 intersection S2. Similarly, AB belongs to S1 intersection S2. What it shows? This shows that S1 intersection S2 is a subring of ring, or very important and interesting result of a subring. Now I'll take the union of two subrings. To prove this theorem, I'll take one example. Sometimes we have to prove the theorems by using examples. If I ask you to define the sweet, you give an example. What? Coffee or tea, okay, or any sweet, like that. To prove this theorem, I'll take counter example. S1 is a set containing the elements of the type 2n. N is an integer. S2 is a set containing the elements of the form 3n. I mean, no, multiples of 2 here, multiples of 3 here, okay. And union means we have to combine these two elements. That means 2, 3, okay, 5 and so on. 5 will not come here. 2 is an element of S1, 3 is an element of S2. The union S1 union S2 means these two elements are the members of S1 union S2. If I add these two, means closure law under addition. 2 plus 3 is what? 5. 5 is not a member of what? S1 intersection S2. Very clear. That means closure law does not hold good. That means since the closure law does not hold good, no need of verifying associative law, identity law, inverse law, okay, because we are failed to satisfy the first condition, that is closure law under addition. No need of verifying the associative, identity law, additive inverse law, commutative law and so on. That means this example shows that S1 union S2 need not be a subring of what? R. Here R is set of integers. Now I will take ideals. Ideals are the special types of subrings. Remember, ideals are the special types of what? Subring. Here we have two ideals. The first one is left ideal and the next one is right ideal. We define left ideal like this: a non-empty subset S. You take any notation as you wish. Let me take S. A non-empty subset S of ring R is said to be left ideal. It must satisfy two conditions. The first condition is if AB belongs to S, that means if A and B are the members of S, then their difference is also member of S. First condition of left ideal. Second condition, A is an element of S, that means non-empty set here, that is S. A is a member of S, R is a member of R, that means R is an element of ring R, then their product R dot A is also a member of S. Remember, since it is a left ideal, R should appear on left hand side. Right ideal, same as left ideal with little difference. A non-empty subset, yes, of a ring R is said to be a right ideal of R if it satisfies two conditions. First condition is same as left ideal, that is, if A and B are the members of S, then the difference is also member of S. Second, A belongs to S, R belongs to R, then their product A dot R belongs to S. Remember, R appears on the right hand side. If it is left ideal, left side. If it is a right ideal, right side. Okay. Now, ideal. A non-empty subset S of ring R is said to be an ideal of R. Again, it must satisfy two conditions. The difference of these two elements must belong to S for all AB belongs to S. Otherwise, if A and B belongs to S, then the difference of these two elements belongs to S. Second one, it must be what? Right ideal as well as left ideal. Since ideal is a special type of subring, that means we have proper ideal as well as improper ideal. The set containing additive identity and the ring itself are called as improper ideals, and other ideals, other than these two, are said to be proper ideals. Improper ideals means it has no proper ideals. Next class, I'll take few more examples. Okay, I hope you got it.